and welcome to Literacy in 2020. The key aims for this session are to highlight the importance of digital literacy, to show you where your child can find support with literacy-based tasks online, and to discuss what critical literacy is and the importance of being able to spot fake news. Throughout this, we'll also be looking at searching for information online and referencing.
So in the last session, the term literacy was covered and why literacy is important, not just in life, but for the workplace. This session is going to focus on digital literacy. Now, digital literacy, as this quote suggests, is the ability to succeed in everyday life using aspects of technology and electronic tools. So that could range from things like using the internet for shopping, using technology as a news outlet, and maybe for things like online banking. At Bishop Briggs Academy, I think we have a really strong ethos for developing our young people's skills for learning, for life and for work. I think that underpins everything that we teach in the school. Of course, literacy is one of those skills, as I've talked about already, that is vital for life and for work. Now what I have here on this slide is a job description for a customer service assistant. Now this is a job that we could probably say is an entry-level position. Okay, it's a job that maybe a young person leaving school could potentially apply for, even on a part-time or a full-time basis. Now in the green, I've highlighted all of the aspects, all of the duties of this position that would entail some form of literacy. Now this could be logging instructions on a computer system, it could be communicating with customers, either in verbal or a written form, developing solutions to problems, or even recording customer information. Now all of these require literacy of some kind. Now understand that requirements for literacy would vary depending on different industries and different levels of responsibility within an organisation. But what I think this example shows is that across all jobs there is a fundamental level of literacy that's required to be successful in the workplace. So why is digital literacy important? Well, digital literacy is becoming increasingly important not only in schools to facilitate learning, but also in the workplace. Jobs are becoming more and more digitalised and reliant on technology for things like communication, manufacturing, and just general working practices. And I think we're seeing a perfect example of that currently due to the pandemic, where over 24 million UK workers have moved from working in an office environment to working at home. Now all of that has been facilitated by technology and things like email, cloud technology, virtual meeting software like Zoom. So digital literacy is becoming really a necessity in the workplace. Also in the context of the jobs market, digital literacy is a really highly sought after skill. If you look at these statistics from the UK government, it's reported drastic increases in vacancies for jobs in the technology industry over the past year. Also in Scotland, over 1/5 of jobs in Glasgow and Edinburgh are in the digital technology industry. Now that's a huge number. Now whilst it's impossible to predict the future, it seems likely that trend will continue towards a more digital workplace. And it's really important that we recognise this as educators and as parents to prepare our young people as best as we can and help develop those digital literacy skills to meet the demands of the workplace. So that begs the question, how can we develop digital literacy in school and at home? Now here we have a few hints and tips to encourage our young people to use technology and to develop their digital literacy skills. Firstly, using technology across all subjects. So rather than handwriting an English essay, maybe using a word processor like Microsoft Word. Also encouraging the use of the internet for things like research and generally to form opinions, whilst of course using their critical thinking skills to recognise what may be a reliable source and maybe what may be not so reliable. Also making use of the Microsoft Office package that's available through Glow. Every East and Bartonshire pupil has the ability to download the whole Microsoft Office package onto 6 devices, and that would enable them to complete homework or assignments at home for free. Lastly, taking advantage of the support and the resources that are available on Microsoft Teams, using the class materials, assignments, being able to access support to study from home.
So Show My Homework is an online source which you can use to keep up to date with your homework and ask teachers any questions you might have. You can get the Show My Homework app on your phone, which is now called Satchel One, and it just looks like this on the App Store. Also, Microsoft Teams is another great app you can use, and it allows you to access resources and class materials, ask your teachers questions, and also if you're working from home you can join a Teams meeting so you know what's going on with your class.
As you'll know, Show My Homework is our school's homework resource. When a piece of homework is set, a number of different things appear on the homework task. So there will be a little description of what the teacher is looking for. You'll also be able to see when the homework was set and when it's due, and how long roughly the teacher expects that the homework should take, which is a good measure for how well the pupil is understanding what the homework is. Sometimes resources will be added as well, like PowerPoints and things like that, to help support the pupil with the task, and this is an example of a digital platform that pupils can use to support their learning. Website where we share resources like PowerPoints and things like that, things that are used in class. Pupils should log into their Glow account. They can do this via the Internet Explorer, so they can do it on any phone, iPad or laptop, or they can download the app for it. When they log in, their personal launchpad will appear. So this is mine. Theirs might look slightly different because you can edit it, but this is the app we're looking for here. So it's called SharePoint. So if you click onto that, it will take you to our homepage where you can see all the subjects are listed here. And I'm just going to show you history as an example. So this is our department homepage, and you can see the levels and year groups at the side here. So if they were in S2, for example, they would click into that, or you can click into it as well. And we have the topics that we cover in S2 listed here. So if I show you this example, it means that if they're absent at any point, they can go back and catch up with work, or if they're revising for a class test, then they can use these resources to recap anything that they might have missed. So all the folders are here with each of the different lessons that we cover, and they can click into that and actually view the PowerPoints and any sort of resources to go with it on their phone or their laptop or their iPad. Pupils use digital literacy skills on a daily basis, and these are just a few examples of some of the tasks where it might require them to use these skills. So firstly, checking and sending emails. This is something that's become more common, particularly with people now having to self-isolate and things like that. They might need to check in with their teacher and send a quick email to find out what the class are doing and what they should be focusing on at home. So being able to form an email is obviously a very important skill, and that will benefit them in the future as well. Secondly, researching for projects, essays and assignments. In the BGE, projects are something that are done by many different subjects, and these would require pupils using the internet and search engines to find out a bit more detail on whatever it is their project is on. Same with essays. If they want their essay to stand out, they might do a bit of research themselves to add in some different facts in addition to what they've been taught in class. And then finally, assignments. Assignments are something that are done in National 5 and in Higher, and these require a lot of personal research. So developing those digital literacy skills in the BGE stages is really important for pupils progressing throughout the school when it comes to doing their assignments later on. They might just be searching for an answer to a question that they have that still requires digital literacy to know how to do that. They could of course be creating social media profiles, or they could be checking the news, which is something that a lot of the pupils have taken an interest in recently with the coronavirus information and also with the American election. So really important to know what sources that they're using and that they know that the sources they're using are trustworthy. We often think that young people today are experts when it comes to technology, and for the most part that is true. However, quite often when they're doing research in school, they'll ask, what is it that I searched for? And what we try to tell them is to be as specific as possible about the topic that they're researching. They can also use Boolean logic, which means adding and or not to whatever it is they're searching for to reduce the number of hits that appear. So for example, if they were wanting to find out about volcanoes, they could search volcanoes on Google, but that would get them 147 million hits. If they add in and Iceland, that would reduce the number of hits significantly to only 6.3 million, and then if they knew the specific volcano they were researching, that would reduce it even further. They can also do things like searching for specific phrases using quotation marks to make sure that only really relevant information appears and they're not getting millions upon millions of results. So now they've found the information online, how do they actually use it? If they're copying directly from a website, it is important that they quote and reference the source that they're using. Sometimes pupils can create PowerPoint presentations and copy huge chunks of text from an online source without referencing it, and this unfortunately is plagiarism, which they're not allowed to do and will be penalised for if they do that in their National 5 higher or advanced higher exams. So it's very important that they reference and give credit to the author of the source. They should avoid copying large chunks of text even if they are quoting, and they can do that by changing the information into their own words. If that's something that they find challenging, I would encourage them to say the information aloud in their own words, because usually if they're telling another person what the information is saying, that will help them more naturally to rephrase it and put it into their own words. When they're referencing websites, they should copy down the full web address and note down what date they accessed the website on. The reason why that's important is that the information on the website could be updated following their research, so it's important to note when they did access it. If they're referencing a newspaper or magazine, they should note the title and date, and if it has an issue number, that as well. They're required to do referencing for their SQA submissions in National 5 Higher and Advanced Higher, and at college and university it's a mandatory requirement of assessments, so it's a really good habit for them to start developing at BGE stage. And when they're referencing, they can just add their references to the end of the piece of work that they're doing.
As you move up to school, referencing becomes more commonly used and important, and this involves taking note of the source where you got your information from. Harvard referencing system is one that a lot of students use to do their referencing, and in subjects such as English, Advanced Higher PE, Advanced Higher Modern Studies, and a range of other subjects, referencing is really important.
You can access online articles and issues via 2 resources provided by our school library. If you would like to have a look at these, you can contact Mrs Thomas, the school librarian, via her email address, and she will provide you with the login and password required to access these articles. All of the articles and links to the information that they recommend are closely monitored, and they can be saved, downloaded or printed, which means that you could use them in your own research. It's more important than ever that children are critically literate, and what this means is that they're able to question information that they're being told, and that they're able to identify credible sources and non-credible sources as well.
When discussing fake news with young people, we use the BBC's definition of fake news, which is that it is any type of false information which is distributed deliberately for political or commercial purposes. When we break this down, what this means is that fake news is any untrue story that is spread on purpose to make certain people, groups or situations look better or worse. The rise in online activity amongst young people and increased use of social media makes critical literacy more important now than ever before. Recent findings show that only 2% of young people have the critical literacy skills required to tell if a story is real or fake. This skill is something we are trying to develop in all young people at Bishop Briggs Academy. The harms of fake news are there for us all to see. 2/3 of teachers believe that anxiety and low self-esteem are just 2 of the consequences that can come from reading fake news. Fake news has a negative impact on our society. It is there to deliberately mislead. This can ultimately impact our trust in the media and even our trust in honest reporting. Worryingly, fake news can result in some acting on the false information they have received and can also influence our democracy by impacting our political views and opinions.
In modern studies, we've been looking at how to spot fake news and tell if it's real. If you're looking at a story online, make sure to remember the word real. First, is it realistic? Then try and find some evidence to back up that it's true. And then, does it all add up? Make sure to look around at other websites to see if they're reporting the same story. It's really important to use our literacy skills. If there are lots of capital letters and exclamation marks, it's most likely that the story is not true. As young people, we're on social media a lot, so it's really important to know how to spot fake news.
Once you understand what fake news is, it becomes easier to spot. This headline is an example of a fake news story that was shared around the world a few years ago. By remembering what fake news is and using real, it is easy to spot this is not a true story. By doing more research, it becomes clear that there's no evidence to say that this really did happen. The story also comes from a group of teenagers who spread this fake story on purpose. As it was used as a way of encouraging people to vote for Donald Trump, it is for political gain. This story ticks all three boxes and therefore clearly is fake news.